You are joining the final performance reporting webinar. Just in case you're wondering if you're in the right place. If you are getting ready to do a final performance report, then you are definitely in the right place. If you want to learn anything about what you need to do to complete your final performance report, again, you are in the right place. As we wait till everybody gets their audio going, if you wouldn't mind in the chat, just saying hello, letting us know where you're zooming in from, that would be great. We still have some people joining and getting their audio going, so it'd be great to see everybody or see where you're zooming in from in the chat, and then we'll get started. Hi, Brandon and Allison. Naka Inspired Schools, Susan. My team member Doris is on the chat, and Casey. Everybody saying hello, good morning, or good day for some of you, good afternoon from Oklahoma. Aloha, everyone. Well, looks like we have most everyone on and their audio going, so we'll go ahead and get started. Of course, we always start first with our disclaimer, so let me go ahead and turn up my volume.
This presentation was produced under U.S. Department of Education contract number GS00F115CA with Synergy Enterprises, Inc. The views expressed herein do not necessarily represent the positions or policies of the U.S. Department of Education. No official endorsement by the U.S. Department of Education of any product, commodity, service, or enterprise mentioned herein is intended or should be inferred.
Okay, now that we've got disclaimed, I'm Olani. I will be taking you through this webinar focused on the final performance report. I'm also joined by your two program officers, Donna Bussell and Linda Brake, as well as the rest of the technical assistance team. So the gang is all here. So let's get started. First of all, I wanted to sort of just let you know when it comes to your FPR, you will be submitting it via G5. There are a few bits of information that I want to go through just to make sure that you are aware. When you're looking at the G5 section, you want to again be cued into the help desk when their operations of hours are. Remember, when you are contacting the G5 help desk, that is really, your questions should be really focused around like any technical support you need regarding the G5 system. If you have any questions regarding like maybe section A and what you should put into the actual report, the content of the report, you can contact either your program officer or the technical assistance team. However, if you have any questions for us regarding like, I can't get this button to click on G5, you really, to get your answers, your questions answered, you want to go ahead and contact G5 directly. Okay, so what are the forms that you're going to be using to complete your final performance report? These are forms that you are very, very familiar with by now. They will include your cover sheet, your executive summary, your section A, section B, and section C. Of course, we also have our optional budget reporting form, as well as the optional section C that you can include. And you can see those forms are there in the chat. So if you want to grab them right now, you can go ahead and grab them. If not, you can always sort of refer back to your grant programs Padlet. Those forms are there as well as I'm sure over the years you've downloaded these forms and you may actually have them in a file named forms. So you want to go ahead and access that. You do want to make sure that they are the appropriate date. So you would check in that upper right-hand corner to make sure that you have the right form and date. Excuse me. So we have some tips for you regarding the different FPR reporting periods. FPRs are, again, covering the entire grant period. So from your first year to your last year, final last year report. And even if you are doing an NCE, you want to make sure that that information is included as well. You can locate the start and end dates in your grant award notification or your GAN. Yes, Brandon, those forms will also be emailed to you. For those with no cost extensions, you want to use the end date of your NCE as the ending of your reporting period for your FPR. So for example, maybe your grant year or your grant period ended, let's say September 31st, but you did a no cost extension for maybe 3 more months. That end date of your NCE is actually the date that you want to report for your FPR. Okay. Here's some reminder tips. Knowing your specific reporting period is really important because you'll be reporting on the GEPRA and project for each grant year. So again, you're going to go back in time and pull what you had reported in your previous APR and as well as your APR update. Sorry, I thought I heard somebody's voice.
Oh, it's Jackie. I just moaned when you said back.
Oh.
Because when I took this over midstream, I apologize. I just hung up on the Title VI office because I was on a Zoom with them.
Oh.
I told them I had to get to you. All right.
Okay, yeah, so I get the moan. I totally get the moan.
Okay.
Particularly if you've had transitions with project directors.
Yes.
So, you know, that might be a thing you want to do once you get off. It might be one of your first tasks that you want to make sure you can go
Yes.
back and find all of your previous APRs. If you have if you have any glitches, please contact us. If you have any like gaps in APRs, you can contact us. We may be able to retrieve those APRs for you. But please give us and yourself enough time to be able to look and search for that.
Alani, this is Alana. I have a question.
Yes.
Hi. I have a question. So you want us to get the copies of the past APRs and submit those into G5 all at once, or how does that work?
No, you need those previous APRs to complete the FPR. And we'll get to that place.
Okay.
But that's a great question. Thank you. I see a bunch of questions. I'm going to just take a pause and I'm going to answer some of the questions. I see Allison, you have your hand up, and then Carmelita, I do see your question in the chat. Go ahead, Allison.
Thank you, Olani. And I maybe you will be addressing this, and I thought I heard you correctly. The optional budget reporting tool for the FPR, when it has the thing for the budget area, that is the full budget of the entire grant from beginning to end.
That's
right?
correct.
Just wanted to make sure I understood. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for the clarification. And I'm going to go back because I saw that Carmelita had a question.
And I popped an answer in, but I think it was in our.
Yes, she did. Thank you,
message.
Alani. You can keep moving forward. They kind of got me in the background there, so I think we're good. Thank you, everyone.
But I will say it's probably a question other people have, Carmelita, so we can call it out as far as, you know, there are a number of you who have no cost extensions of varying lengths.
Yeah.
If you are on no cost extension, you do not have to do an APR this year because you're on no cost extension. You will solely do an FPR 120 days after the end of that no cost extension. So if you have a no cost extension until, say, the end of December 2023, 120 days later, you'll do your FPR. So you'd have one due around the end of April. If you have a full year no cost extension, so maybe you are going to be continuing your grant through the end of next September 2024, you're not going to have an FPR due until 120 days after that. So around the end of January, beginning of February, 2025. So it all is based on whether you ended your grant, quote unquote, on time, the end of September 2023, or if you have a no cost extension, that will determine when your FPR is due. But no matter what, good news, nobody has to do an APR this year.
Okay, thank you so much. You know, the thing is I went for the full year because most of the programming and induction happens in the summer because
Yeah.
everybody's working, and those types of professional development opportunities that I'm bringing forward for the participants, that I get the best attendance if I do it in the summer. So
Absolutely.
I know
You
I'll just
different
keep
grant
going.
programs have no cost extensions. That's what they're there for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All righty. Thank you so much, everybody.
Yeah, great questions, you guys. Thanks for all the questions. That's what we want. So remember, this kind of goes back to the question that Alana brought up, is the reason why I'm saying to go grab your previous APRs is because you are not recreating or recounting anything from past years. So you want to get those numbers that you reported in maybe your first, second, or third year APRs and make sure those are the same in your FPR. And so that was really just a tip to help you remember and report correctly. You do not want to make up new numbers for previous years. You again, securing those copies of past APRs, and then we would really appreciate it if you maybe again, because you had a change in project director, you don't have access to that, to reach out to us as soon as possible so we can help find those APRs for you. So now let's get into the nitty-gritty of what the form should look like, what the information should include. We are going to have, there's going to be some information in the chat of how to access these forms online. But again, you have access to them via the chat right now. They are going to be in your packet.
Renuka, I was just one quick question. If you have
Okay, 1 second. Just let me finish the sentence and we'll get to that. What was the sentence? So you're able to access it on your Padlet, as well as we'll be sending it out via email. So there's lots of different ways and you can access. All right, so did somebody have a question? Okay.
I think it was just somebody who forgot they weren't on mute.
Oh, okay. All righty. Awesome. And so let's get into the forms. So I know you folks are very familiar with this form. This is your APR cover sheet. Again, the first place you want to make sure is that you are putting your entire PR number. Make sure that you include the full number for the grant that is ending. Make sure you have the correct PR number. I know some of you have multiple grants, so you want to make sure that that is the correct number for this APR. For item number 7, you want to make sure you're entering the full reporting period for your grant. And that's what we just discussed. So again, if you are on if you did do an NCE, that ending date will be the ending of your NCE period. So again, you want to make adjustments for that. My cursor. Then, oh, sorry. Here we go. So for item number 8, you want to have, there has several sub-item. It is really about your budget expenditures in the different time spans. You want to make sure that 8B is the expenditures for the single current budget period. And then all of the other in 8A, should include all of the funds that you have expended over the life of your grant. Excuse me. Item number 9, be sure that you are entering the most up-to-date indirect cost information. Even though this is your FPR season, you want to make sure that all of that information is up to date, that the correct expiration date is in that section. And then in section item number 10, you are going to click and put an X on the line right before NA. So that's just go ahead and put that NA in. That's for everybody. And then for item number 11, again, you are going to want to put an X next to the yes. Moving on to the back side of the cover sheet. From item number 12, this is the performance measure. And so you should be clicking at yes, yes, putting an X by yes, because this is your FPR. And so you should have all the data and it should all be complete. There are no FPR updates. This is it. This is you putting in all the information. And so you will be checking yes next for item number 12. Finally, you want to make sure that you have the signature of your authorized representative. The grant will not be closed without the proper signature. Another tip we often say is to really, when you get into this, complete your cover sheet first and get that to your authorized representative, because we often find that becomes sort of a glitch in getting your documents and your FPR submitted on time. So you might want to sort of start working on that. Might be one of the first things at the top of your list when it comes to completing your FPR. And also, if you have any question about who is the authorized representative, you can again contact either your TA team or your program officer. Again, I know there have been lots of staff changes and organizations sort of restructuring. So if you have any questions about your authorized representative, please reach out regarding that. And then once signed, if you're experiencing any troubles in uploading your cover sheet to G5, you can either email it directly to program officer, or if you give yourself enough time to complete the FPR, you can reach out to either the technical assistance team, or if it's a tech issue, you may want to again contact the G5 help desk regarding any challenges you might be having in uploading that form onto G5. I'm just going to take a pause and see if there's any. Oh, it looks like the team is on it on answering all the questions in the chat. So I'll just move forward. Okay, section A. Again, very familiar to all of us. You've seen this over the years. You're going to be using this again. You are going to really include all of the information from past APRs. The purpose of the project status chart in section A is to demonstrate the progress of your project and the completion of your project and the work you've been doing. Once again, you'll be reporting on each and every project year of the entire lifespan of your grant. And we're going to get into what that looks like. We have some examples on what that will look like moving forward. So as I stated, each OIE discretionary grant has a set of specific measures referred to as GEPR measures. I know you probably can recite your GEPR measures verbatim. When reporting on these measures, you insert, again, the exact wording of the GEPR measure, label it as GEPR. Okay, so we have the exact GEPR measure. We're labeling it as GEPR for the measure type. And again, we are going to be reporting on the actual performance data. Nothing different from what you've been doing every APR season. For your project measures that you have defined, you will enter again the project measures that you've been carrying along with you all these years of the grant. You will label it as project measure and measure type. And then you will report both the target as well as the actual performance data. Also included in this project status chart is the explanation of progress. Now, we've been able to sort of review your explanation of progress, and you again are going to want to think about this for your FPR from an entire grant perspective. And so you're going to want to be sharing again the same information really about the different types of information from, again, like I said, a final performance perspective. When you're writing your explanation of progress, you will need to provide both quantitative and qualitative data that gives the reader insight, not only about whether or not your goals are met, but also provides insight about the background and context under which you are operating, as well as the challenges you overcame and have dealt with through the life of the grant. Now, some of you may have actually had this grant during the pandemic when everything was shut down. We really want to encourage you to provide your experiences and how you overcame those challenges during that time. This piece is very important and will serve as a recording of your progress and really an overview and some really critical information regarding your program. The GEPR measures really help OIE and the department to see the progress of your project as what from your project, as well as looking across all of your peers in your particular grant program. And so we really want to encourage you to really provide some amazing explanation of the progress, because that is really helpful. Also, the data should be reported for each implementation year. I am also getting that I may have skipped over a really crucial form. So I'm going to go back. It's the executive summary. I missed that. And that's where we get to first see all of the amazing narratives that you folks create again, to give us some really in-depth look at what you've been doing. Now, in-depth, I say that rather loosely, but because this all needs to be provided within 1 to 2 pages. So it's not that in-depth, but it gives us a really great narrative to sort of kick us off and provide context for the rest of the sections of the report. And so again, I want to really encourage you to, in your APRs, you were really thinking about that year. Now for your FPR, you want to sort of expand it and look over the life of your grants, sharing key, maybe lessons learned, maybe key partners that you hadn't thought about connecting to, but really was really productive and an impactful partnership. Maybe some challenges that you've overcome that you think may be of benefit to the field. And so you really want to select those pieces that you are sort of stick out to you through the life of your grant. Talk about the contributions that your project has made, maybe to research, knowledge, or practice and policy. Those are the different pieces of information that you want to include in your executive summary. Sorry about the confusion that I skipped over the executive summary. Then I got into the section A. I was just so excited to get to section A because that's where we get to see all of the amazing things you folks have been doing. And getting into a part that I like, which is really those GEPR measures. And it's been really interesting to see how you folks are reporting these GEPR measures, how you created amazing impacts via those GEPR measures. And so we have some of the GEPR measures that should be completing an FPR either now or after their NCE. So again, we have the null GEPR measures. You're very familiar again, with your GEPRA measures. We have the ACE GEPRA measures. Your NYCP, again, when you're looking at your NYCP measures, objectives met, that should be, again, for the entire life of the FPR. Your PD program measures, GEPRA measures. And then again, your STEP GEPRA measures. So I know you folks, again, like I said, you probably have these like in your mind, etched into your mind after all these years of completing APRs. And so you just want to sort of go back and make sure that in the section A, you are covering all of the GEPRA measures and you are using the exact wording.
Alani, this is
Yeah.
Linda.
Hi, Linda.
Can we go back to the slide with the PD GEPRA measures?
Sure can.
If they're only doing a teacher training program or an administrator's program, can they leave the other GEPRA measure out? Like if they
Yes.
only
Yes.
deal with teachers, they don't have to list the administrators.
That's correct.
Okay, I just wanted to be sure because some people include them all and then it looks like they didn't meet it, but that's not what their program was designed for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Awesome. Great question. Great clarifying. Okay, so what is this going to look like? So here's a sample of an FPR for a measure that includes baseline data. So some of you may actually have baseline data, and this is just focused on your GEPRA. So let's go through what information you would enter in section A if your measure has baseline data. So again, you can see that we're utilizing the exact language from the GEPRA measure. And then if you see in that little box on that first 1A, you see that we have, and most of you do this have done this in your APR already, is that you have sort of identified this as the baseline year. And then you have on 1B, you have your year 1, year 2, and year 3. But you see that GEPRA measure language is all the same language. Again, as far as the measure type goes, they are all identified as GEPRA. And then again, you're only reporting on the actual performance data. Now this again should not be recounting. It should be the exact number from your APR reports. Except of course for your final year. Your explanation of progress, again, should include both qualitative and quantitative information. It should also include any information about how the data was collected, how the data is measured, and then also maybe it'd be great to hear how you actually utilize that data. And maybe even whether it's in this section or section C, how you might be utilizing this data moving forward past the actual grant year. Let's take a look at this other example. And this is for FPR for measures that do not include previously reported baseline data. So again, you see here that this has the exact language from the GEPRA. And basically the difference is that you're starting with in 2A year 1. So there will be no baseline row that you would be providing data on. Again, you should be looking back at your APRs. If your APR reported a baseline data, then that needs to be included. If it did not, then you won't be recreating baseline data. This should all be reflective of previous years, of past years. You see right there, the years identified. Again, the measure type is GEPRA. And then again, you're reporting in the actual performance data ratio column. The exact information from previous APRs, as well as sort of the closeout of the grant data. There should be no 999s in your FPR reports. Everything needs to be completed data. Also, you want to make sure again that you're providing that explanation of progress, the same level of detail, really talking about, again, qualitative, quantitative data, the ways that you collected the data, how you use that data, and any other information that you want to share regarding the data. Maybe based on the data, you made some changes in program. It'd be great to share it there. Now let's look at what your project measures should look like. Again, these should be the exact language that you have used in previous APRs. These are the unique measures that you've defined for your program. Again, using the exact wording. You want, as it relates to measure type, you want to make sure that it's identified as project. You can see, let me take a step back. You can see in this area where you are utilizing, where you're articulating the project performance measure, you again are identifying it as baseline, year 1, year 2. That really helps keep track of the different years and how you're reporting them. There we go, right there again, identifying if it's baseline, year 1, year 2, or year 3 for those rows. And then identifying that measure type as project measure. Now, of course, you know that for your project measures, you are reporting on both target and actual performance data. And that's why it's really important for you to go back and collect your APRs to identify what you put in, because some of you, the targets change year after year, and definitely your actual performance data is unique to the APR. So you want to make sure you're reporting exactly what was previously reported. I'm going to take a pause right there. Oh, looks like all the questions are being answered in the chat. So thank you. Thank you, team. Okay, so for your FPR forms section B and C. Again, I know you folks are familiar with this. Section B, your budget report. In this section, you will use to provide a narrative of your spending for the entire lifespan of the grant. So this, again, might be a good time to bring out those older APRs and see what you put. For this section, you may want to review your past APRs for those highlights and relevant information about the budget over the life of the grant. This section should expand as you type into the form. Here again, it will be helpful to craft this narrative in a separate document and then copy and paste it into the G5 once it's fully written. I know some of you have had experience sort of just typing your narrative straight into G5 and then maybe a timing out and all of that brilliant writing disappearing. So please, I want to encourage you for any of the narrative sections, and maybe even sometimes your section A to draft it in the actual form and then copy and paste it into G5. Yeah, Carmelita, you can, it depends on how you want to structure. You can break it over the years of the grants, or, you can, maybe you can organize it by budget category, and then within that, have a little description on the different years. Yeah, it's kind of great to, like when you write the grant, making it, easy for your program officer to sort of see, the different progression over the years. So however you think is best.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that, is it because we're doing the GEPRA and the project measures we're breaking them out over years. If you
Yes.
wanted us to follow that same sort of formatting for our budget reporting, saying these in year one, here was our expenditures 2, 3, 4, and over it, and then maybe a
Summary, yeah.
overreaching statements or group of statements that might describe budgeting overall.
Yeah.
Is that
Yeah.
close or okay?
Yes, yeah. Allison, I see your hand up.
Thank you. Well, I noticed in the chat, there was a question about combining information for years 4 and the no cost extension year 5, technically on the section A. Do you want us to combine that information for section B, although they're separate?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah. So your no cost, here's how to think about all of the no cost extension things, because I know it can be confusing. You ended in whatever year it was, some of you year 3, some of you year 4, and then you're asked for a no cost extension for however long that needed to be, up to a year, some of you. That is just an extension of that last year of your grant, so that you were provided and, provided money from us. So you are extending that year and gathering data and spending down funds on activities to help meet any objectives of your grant. So therefore, you're just taking that no cost extension year and putting that information in your year 4. But like Olani said too, at the beginning on that cover sheet, you are going to put that last the date, because we need to see that no cost extension date, but the data will be that extended combined in that year. Does that make sense?
I think so. So what I'm hearing is on section B, when I get to the part where I'm talking about year 4, I'm going to talk about year 4 plus our 1 year no cost extension as year 4.
Yeah, and the biggest, I will tell all of you, the biggest things that we're going to look for in that budget information narrative is your final amount, your final available balance that you had that you weren't able to spend down, or that you zeroed out. So that's the biggest thing that me as a program officer, I'm going to look for in this budget narrative.
And then on the cover sheet page where it said the budget period, the one, because it's A, B, and C, B is going to be the no cost extension period only, or the full year 4 plus the no cost extension.
I can't see that.
So it's previous budget period, current budget period is B, that's what Allison's asking about, and then C is entire project period.
Yeah, that current, well, the current's just going to be that what you had, that no cost extension year, because
Just the no cost extension.
Anything.
Okay.
But as long as we have the whole amount there too.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, what is really needed, because if we don't have it, we're going to email you and ask you to provide it, is in that budget narrative where Alani was at, is your final available balance, your final balance that you had. And really look at that, make sure your budget is correct. If you have $5.28 left in your budget, let us know that you had $5.28 left in your budget, because we're going to compare that to what's in G5. And if it's zeroed out, it's zeroed out. And then you're going to let us know all expenditures have been accounted for, and there are no more expenses that we will incur.
Okay, great. Because we're at our no cost extension ended, and we're in our liquidation phase of all the obligations and invoices for everything that was, done through September 30th. We're making sure those are getting paid and getting vendors to get us our invoices right now. So I just wanted to make sure what I was reporting.
Yeah, and Jennifer, yeah, that's what we were saying, that no cost extension is an extension of your last year of your grant. Some people have year 4 years, some have 3. It just depends.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And then Carmelita, I see your hand is up.
Just one more clarification. This is on the cover sheet. Just going back to that for PD grant. So the current budget year which is a no-cost extension year, is a $120,000 year, because the current year, it's not the money that was left in year 5 that's going into the no-cost extension, which was however many dollars that was. It's actually the current year is still the $120,000 obligated in year 5. Am I correct there? Is that how you wanted us to do that, Donna? Or so because the previous budget year, it would be the one before. I'm in the induction programming. So previous year induction programming. Current budget year is again induction programming, that's obligated 120. And then the entire period, the entire budget is.
You see.
Yeah, I'm just wondering, am I reading this the way that you're hoping that I do?
Oh,
You're-
Donna, I think you're on mute. I think you're on mute.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, I'm gonna have to take my glasses off and look at this. And I only look at this once a year. I should know it. So yeah, it's, you want your that, can we,
Can you see that?
let me just put it on the bigger screen. The biggest thing here is the entire project period too. So the entire project period, really, that's all we need here is the entire project period. As long as I have that, your current budget is going to be whatever you had approved. Really, it will be whatever you had approved for your no-cost extension year. And your previous budget is going to be that the year before your no-cost extension year, which would have been on your GAN. So the previous budget year would have been that year 4 GAN. Your current budget is going to be that no-cost extension period that was approved. But overall, it's going to be that entire project period. And so it still should add up. Well, it won't add up, but
It won't
your
add
entire
up,
project, yeah, your entire project period should be the whole full, however many years you had of that grant there, because we are going to compare that final project period amount with your overall recommended amount that we have given every year of the grant.
Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Great questions. Thanks, Donna, for clarifying that. Awesome question. So back to, sorry, let me scroll through too far. Here we go. Okay, so we're back here at, again, the budget information. Now, again, you want to make sure that you're providing information for each year, like Donna said, and then a summary of it. The budget information should be funds expended and obligated, even if not reflected yet in G5. The G5 drawdown frequency, you want to make sure that you're including some of that information. I know, in like reviewing over some of the different APRs, sometimes you started out with like less frequency, like it's kind of infrequent because you're getting geared up. And then as the year started going, you started to be more, was a connection between your fiscal office and you were on the ball, and it was the frequency increased. And so you might just sort of want to maybe talk a little bit about that, some changes you made. Again, this is really helpful information that can be shared with other grantees that come along after you, some of the lessons that you learned. And so providing any of that information would be really great. How you track those expenditures independent of your budget office is also some great information. I know several of you have actually created really strong relationships because of this grant with your fiscal office, and have regular meetings now, and they just have sort of operationalized some of this. So please share that information in the budget narrative as well. If you had any unexpended funds, kind of like what Donna was talking about, you want to make sure that you are explaining why, discuss how much funding you had remaining and why. For example, maybe the salary for someone that wasn't hired, training funds for participants who maybe were not recruited, provides that information. Please include the statement below, our budget is final, as the submission of this report. So at the end of your budget narrative, you want to make sure that you have that statement in with the appropriate funds that were unspent. Okay, so if anything, yeah, go ahead, Allison. I see your finger. Oh, you're typing it. Well, we can go ahead and if one of my gang, if you could copy and throw that in the chat. Again, you folks will be getting this, so you'll have, oh, there you go, Doris. Thanks, Doris. You'll be getting this PowerPoint as well, so it won't be disappearing. You'll have access to that information. But Allison, did you have a question about that statement? No. Okay, you got it. Awesome. Awesome. See, even on Zoom, I can read some nonverbals. So if you have your video on, I can read some of your nonverbals. So again, here is, you folks are very familiar with this, the optional budget reporting tool for all of the different programs. PD does have a slightly different form, and so you want to make sure that you're using that. Again, we will have that in your Padlet. We will have that in your in the attachments when we send out the email. And there it is in the chat. Shazam! There we go. PD fiscal year 18, your actual optional budget reporting tool. Now, you are not required. Again, the operative word is optional. However, if you do decide to use another format, you do need to make sure that all of the information that the optional budget reporting tool is requesting is provided. So again, make sure you have all of that information. And like Allison had kind of clarified, it should reflect the entire grant year period. Okay, so that may mean, again, going back into your previous optional budget reporting tools or the different ways that you've reported your budget to find that information. And thanks, Doris. Doris is throwing in links to the Padlet, so you can always access that these forms. So when it comes to your optional budget reporting tool, here's some tips. You only want to enter information in the yellow areas. I know, again, after all these years, you are very familiar that the ones that are not highlighted yellow have calculations in there. And so we lock it down to make sure that your calculations are getting done. It just helps, again, with your program officer in being able to be confident in that those calculations are correct. You do not need to report on discrete line items, only the overall category. And so again, you're not going to, for under personnel, it's not going to be a report on like your project director or your fiscal or your program coordinator. It'll just be reporting on the category. Make sure to complete both narrative and numeric fields. So again, as you see, there is a column for rationale for remaining funds. And so that's a great place for you to provide information regarding any funds for that category that may be remaining. Also, there's a category for you regarding, do you verify that your budget is final? And so you would say, yes, it is final, and verify that. And or the final balance in column 8, cell 25 will remain unspent. Okay. Moving on to section C. Again, this is where, you can put all of the other information that maybe didn't fit in your executive summary, the 1 to 2 pages, or didn't fit in your explanation of progress, please, this is the final year. We really want to see all like the lessons you've learned. Think about maybe this in terms of like talking to the new STEP, PD, NOL, NYCP grantees. What is the thing you would want to share, your lessons learned, and maybe highlighting that, the challenges, how you've overcome that, the amazing successes that you've had, each and every year. Again, a lot of you attach information, pictures. Those are all really amazing contributions to the field, definitely, and give your program officer some really amazing insight into all of the work that you've been doing. Again, you can use this to document, like I said, success stories, challenges, also the status of partnerships, draw conclusions. This is also another great place to talk about maybe how you are going to sustain the work of your program. Maybe you've identified other partners, or you've operationalized different pieces of that you've developed through this grant. Maybe you found another funder, and are going to be, continuing this program. It's a great place to talk about, the ongoing work beyond the OIE grant. We also have the optional Section C reporting tool. Again, this should be information regarding the entire information of your grants. And so you don't need to complete this for every year of your grant. You don't have to go back, but it should be sort of encapsulating all of the information. And the reason why we ask for this information, again, this is an optional Section C reporting tool. If you do not use this tool, we do ask that you provide this information in other ways, maybe in a narrative form. But we do need this information because this is information that's not caught anywhere else in any place else in your FPR. And so it'd be really helpful if you could provide that information. And we just provide the optional Section C because, again, it just helps you to organize, as well as for your program officer to see it all sort of laid out in a simple way. And so here is, for some of you, the back end of this reporting tool. Actually, sorry, this is the professional development program, your actual optional C. So it's a little bit different, as you can see, from the other grant programs. Okay. So important reminders, again, per the updates in the uniform guidance, FPRs are due within 120 calendar days after the performance period ends. And if you have an NCE, that means at the end of your NCE time. You want to check G5 for your exact due date. Only the grant project director of record in G5 may be able to submit the report. So if there have been any recent changes regarding your project director, you want to make sure that you are communicating that, getting that change with your program officer. I don't think there have been any, I can't recall. But if there are, you want to make sure you get that updated before you have to get into G5, and because you won't be able to, and to be able to submit the report. G5 will not accept reports after the reporting deadline. And so that's why when you did your NCE, your program officer went in and noted in G5 when the end of that NCE is, and that then indicates in G5 when your 120 days both begins and ends. And so you can go ahead and know that G5 will not accept reports after your reporting deadline. You will not be able to go into G5 after the reporting deadline to revise your report. Okay, if you have any problems or questions, again, you can reach out to your program officer or the TA team. I would really want to, again, this is a tip that's not there, but I would really want to, the reason why you want to find out when your 120 days deadline is because from there, you want to work backwards to really create your timeline for completion of your FPR. You know, give yourself some time, and I know you folks know this through the APR, for any glitches that may occur, whether it's technical in G5 or maybe, you know, the authorized representative signature, any of the things that I'm sure you have run into along the way in submitting your APR, give yourself, you know, minimum, I say, like a week. I don't know. That's just me. A week prior to your FPR, that should be a minimum. I would feel probably for myself more comfortable because this is a high stake report. It's your last report. Everything closes after that. Maybe 2 weeks to give you really time to work out any technical glitches within the system and any kind of information you may be needing to include. Reach out to your TA team and your program officer if you have any questions. So we,
Alani,
yeah, go ahead.
sorry. So with that too, make sure, and it may be too late for my NYCP guys for sure, I know, but I can get it changed if I have to. Make sure your project director on record is in G5 already, because we have to go through a lot of other things in order to get that changed. I had some who wanted that changed right at the last second, and it's not impossible. It can happen, but it's a lot of work to get all of that changed. The project director, and make sure your authorized representative is also currently in G5 and has all of those things. And if, what else was there was something else, Alani.
Right, the optional, the G5.
Reporting deadline. Oh, for those of you, I know for my, some of you may be in the same program, but you have different end dates. So for my NYCP guys, I'm waiting for one more who was finished. They didn't do the full year. They may have did 3 months or 6 months, but I'm waiting for them to input their final performance report into the G5 package. And then I can go in and change that for you all who have who are due February 1st. So I would at least look for that by December 1st, a month before it's due. Your G5 package should be open.
Yeah. Yeah, thanks for that tip, Donna. We don't get to like see the G5, so that's really helpful. Again, so you might want to time going in and looking in G5 like a month prior to the end of your NCE to just sort of make sure you have the right due dates, that you have access to G5 and the FPR. That's what you're talking about, right, Donna?
Yeah, because right now going into, once it's in a certain period, it won't let us as the program officers go in and update anybody's project director or update any authorized rep, update anything really, once it's in that phase of the grant. So we have to call G5 and we have to do all of these different things in order to get it changed, which it takes, it's going to take longer on your end. So just make sure everybody is where they're supposed to be and has everything ready. And the question about the G5 to the G6.
Yeah.
I hope everything is still in there when it goes to G6.
Yeah.
We know as much as you do about that right now.
Everyone just cross their fingers and toes and it'll work perfect.
Yes. And we are going to be, right, Sarah, we are going to be learning the G6 and we'll be hopefully, when we learn it, be able to provide some TA on the G6.
Absolutely.
Allison, did you have a question or was that the question?
It was about the G5, G6 changeover of when you anticipate us leaving G5 completely and being in G6. I mean, I followed the link that Casey provided. It brought me to G6. I clicked on the sign in, it took me to G5.
Oh,
I signed in there. I
Yep.
did both G5 sign in and login.gov to see if it did different things, and it brought me back to G5, the same place.
Yep.
So
It
I
did
just
the same thing to
wondered-
me.
Okay.
Yeah, it did the same thing to me. It did the same thing to everybody here, and we're just as frustrated. So hopefully
Oh,
we
I
don't
just
have a timeline.
no time
of-
frame. Okay.
Because yeah,
yeah.
I'm
No
sorry.
problem. No, it's okay. My one concern is if I start work, let's say you open it up in December and I start working in my packet, if the change happens, the things that I've already saved before submission, if they will like carry over or not.
That's
or I'll
our
have to-
concern as well. No, that
Okay.
is our concern as well. So that's
Okay.
why it's important, like, to get some of these documents that Alani was talking about and having them saved and just copy
Yeah.
and paste everything over.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that would be one of the most frustrating things to go through. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
That's a great case for doing this on on those documents and holding them and saving them and then, cutting them, pasting them into whatever system is the system of the system. So that would be great. And again, as soon as we find out, as soon as we can get geared up, we will be reaching out and letting you folks know and providing technical assistance, and sort of getting ourselves ramped up for what the G6 will look like. Any other questions? You guys are great questions. And so great to have our program officers here to address those questions directly. Awesome. Well, again, awesome feedback. Thank you guys. Great questions. Thank you again to our program officers, Donna and Linda, participating and providing more clarity. To my TA team for keeping those links going and making sure those forms are there. If you do not receive an email with the information for this FPR, please let us know, reach out so we can make sure you get that and you have the information. This is recorded in due time. I think maybe 2 weeks it will be going up on the OIE YouTube. So it's a great tool to use as you go through your FPR, and you're more than welcome to again reach out and help and ask for help and ask for assistance, review, and even being a thought partner on completing this report. Have a wonderful rest of your day. It was so great to hang out with you guys. Talk to you later. Aloha.